There's a brown glass bottle sitting in your doctor's medicine cabinet right now. It costs $15. Physicians carried it in their medical bags for 120 years. And if you asked your doctor about it at your next appointment, they would look you in the eye and tell you they have never heard of it. That bottle is number 13 on this list. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is before this video ends. But first, you need to understand something. Because what happened to that brown bottle did not happen by accident. It happened by design. 13 compounds. Everyone documented. Every price current. Every source peer-reviewed and named. And every single item on this list is something doctors quietly buy for their own families, while the system they work inside pretends these things stopped being relevant decades ago. This is not a list of conspiracy theories. This is a list of regulatory decisions, financial incentives, and suppressed research that lives in peer-reviewed journals, NIH databases, and congressional records. Several of these compounds appear on the World Health Organization's Essential Medicines list. Several have Nobel Prize-winning research attached to them. All of them can be purchased today for less than the copay you handed over the last time your doctor said there was nothing else they could do. Number 1. N-acetylcysteine, NAC. Emergency rooms have used it since the 1960s. It is the primary treatment for acetaminophen overdose, the same Tylenol sold in every pharmacy in North America. Acetaminophen poisoning depletes glutathione, the body's master antioxidant. NAC restores it within hours. Standard hospital protocol for 50 years. In 2020, a pharmaceutical company filed a drug application to patent a clinical version of NAC for liver disease. The FDA sent warning letters in 2021 claiming NAC could no longer be legally sold as a dietary supplement because a drug application now existed. Amazon removed thousands of listings overnight. The FDA lost that battle. Public pressure reversed the guidance. But for months, one of the most effective compounds in emergency medicine disappeared from shelves. Not because the science changed, because someone filed paperwork. $18 at any supplement retailer. Number 2. DMSO, Dimethyl Sulfoxide. In 1963, Dr. Stanley Jacob at Oregon Health Sciences University discovered that DMSO penetrated human skin completely, carrying other therapeutic compounds directly into tissue, bypassing the digestive system entirely. He published. The media covered it. The FDA investigated. In 1965, all clinical trials were halted. Stated reason? Eye changes in high-dose animal studies. Changes that were never once replicated in human subjects. DMSO received FDA approval for exactly one condition in 1978. 1. 40 years of subsequent peer-reviewed research on arthritis, nerve damage, and wound healing was never followed up with a single trial. Dr. Jacob, before his death in 2015, called it the greatest suppression of a legitimate therapy he had witnessed in 50 years of medicine. $15 at any farm supply store. Sold as a solvent for horses. Same compound, same molecule. Number 3. Zinc acetate lozenges. In 1984, researcher George Eby watched his daughter accidentally dissolve a zinc tablet in her mouth instead of swallowing it. Her 3-week respiratory infection cleared in 3 days. He published a clinical trial. It was dismissed. In 1992, the Cleveland Clinic ran a randomized controlled trial. Zinc acetate lozenges cut cold duration by 42%, nearly half. That result is still in the peer-reviewed literature today. The formulation matters. Zinc acetate, not zinc gluconate, not zinc citrate. The acetate formulation is what the Cleveland Clinic tested. Most supplement companies use zinc gluconate because it costs less to produce. The acetate version is harder to find and almost never stocked on pharmacy shelves. $8 online if you search specifically for zinc acetate. The formulation that works is buried exactly where they need it to be. Stay with me, because the next item is what British military field medics carried through 2 world wars, and it is $9 at a hardware store. Number 4. Potassium permanganate, deep purple crystals. Medical use documented since the 1840s. British military medics carried it in World War I and World War II. Wound irrigation, fungal infections, water purification in the field. At a dilution of 1 part per 10,000, it kills bacterial contamination faster than most consumer water filters on the market today. Not illegal, not a controlled substance, but purchase restrictions, identification requirements, quantity limits, precursor watch list flags are being quietly applied across retailers and states. At therapeutic concentrations, it is harmless. At field purification concentrations, it is among the most effective compounds available. $9 at any hardware or farm supply store. Buy it while you can. Regulatory pressure on compounds like this only moves in one direction. Number 5, OTC codeine, cough syrup. In 1990, any American could walk into a pharmacy and purchase codeine-based cough syrup without a prescription. $4. It worked. Codeine suppresses the cough reflex at the level of the brainstem, not by masking symptoms, by interrupting the neurological mechanism that generates them. Between 1990 and 2006, individual states systematically reclassified it as prescription only. Stated reason: misuse potential. Convenient result: an immediate market for non-narcotic replacements, Delsim, reformulated Robitussin, Mucinex DM, at $30 to $50 a bottle. None of them interrupt the cough reflexes effectively. OTC codeine is still available without a prescription in Canada and the United Kingdom. The chemistry did not change. The profit margin did. Number 6, Ivermectin. In 2015, William Campbell and Satoshi Omura received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of ivermectin. It appears on the World Health Organization's Essential Medicines list. Over 4 billion people have received it for parasitic infections. In more than 90 countries, it is available over the counter without a prescription. In the United States and Canada, it requires a prescription. During 2021, pharmacies refused to fill valid prescriptions for it. Physicians were threatened with professional consequences for prescribing it off-label. The FDA published "You Are Not a Horse" on their official website, steering people away from veterinary formulations. The compound in veterinary and human ivermectin formulations is chemically identical. The difference is the margin, and this is where it gets dangerous. Not for you, for them. $2 per dose, a Nobel Prize, and a system that decided none of that mattered. Number 7, Methylene Blue. First synthesized in 1876, the first synthetic drug ever used in clinical medicine. By 1891, physicians were using it to treat malaria. It is FDA approved right now for methemoglobinemia, a blood oxygen disorder. It sits in hospital emergency departments today. It cannot be patented. The molecule is 150 years old. The NIH has published research connecting methylene blue to mitochondrial function, cognitive performance, and early-stage Alzheimer's intervention. Because no patent is available, there is no pharmaceutical incentive to fund the clinical trials that would bring it into mainstream treatment guidelines. The research exists, the funding does not. $12 at any aquarium store, sold to treat fish. The molecule does not know that. Number 8, oil of oregano, specifically Carvacrol. In 2001, Georgetown University Medical Center published peer-reviewed research showing Carvacrol, the active phenol in oil of oregano, was effective against all 25 bacterial strains tested in the study. Lead researcher Dr. Harry Preuss compared its efficacy directly against 18 pharmaceutical antibiotics. Results were comparable. The research was published. Nothing followed. Because Carvacrol is a natural compound. No patent is available. No pharmaceutical company will fund a billion-dollar clinical trial process for a molecule any manufacturer can produce. The Georgetown study remains in indexed peer-reviewed literature. Valid, cited, and completely absent from any treatment guideline. Oil of oregano costs $14 at any health food store. The Georgetown study is free on PubMed. Both have been sitting there since 2001. Number 9, activated charcoal. Emergency rooms use it today, right now, for acute poisoning. When a patient arrives within an hour of ingesting a toxic substance, activated charcoal is often the first clinical intervention. It physically binds to toxins in the gastrointestinal tract and carries them out before absorption. Documented, established. Emergency medicine. For decades, physicians also recommended it for chronic gut dysbiosis and detoxification support. In 1990, the FDA issued a notice that activated charcoal could no longer be marketed with general health claims, not because new research showed it ineffective, but because no manufacturer had submitted a new drug application. The compound did not change. The regulatory framework around it did. $10 at any farm or health supply store. Emergency rooms have not stopped using it. Number 10, calcium EDTA chelation. From 2003 to 2012, the National Institutes of Health funded a study called TACT, the Trial to Assess Chelation Therapy. $31 million. Double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized, the gold standard of clinical research. It found that intravenous EDTA chelation therapy reduced the risk of cardiovascular events in diabetic patients by 50%. Stay with me, because this next part changes everything. That result was published. The NIH paid $31 million to produce it, and mainstream cardiology ignored it. Not because the methodology failed to meet standards, but because the compound directly threatens a market worth $50 billion annually in stents, statins, and cardiac pharmaceuticals. Calcium EDTA is available from compounding pharmacies for approximately $35. The NIH published their own data, and then the system looked the other way. Number 11, colloidal silver. Before penicillin arrived in 1943, colloidal silver was the primary antibiotic in Western medicine. It appeared in physician reference texts. It was prescribed for wound care, eye infections, and systemic bacterial illness from approximately 1890 through the early 1940s. When penicillin became commercially viable, colloidal silver became financially inconvenient. In 1999, the FDA issued a final rule. Colloidal silver was not generally recognized as safe and effective for any condition. Medical claims were banned. Not the compound, not the sale, the claims. You can still buy it, use it, and research it freely today. The pre-1938 physician literature, the prescribing records, the published case studies, the documented clinical outcomes, has not been retracted. $20 at any health food store. The historical record has not moved. Number 12, betadine, povidone iodine. Walk into any pharmacy right now and you can still buy betadine. But what is on that shelf is not what your surgeon uses before an incision. In 2019, the FDA revised its over-the-counter antiseptic guidelines. Higher concentration formulations, the ones with documented efficacy against bacterial biofilms, drug-resistant organisms, and viral contamination, were quietly removed from consumer product guidance. The hospital-grade concentration remains in clinical use. Your surgeon's hands are scrubbed with the formulation the full clinical literature supports. The version on the pharmacy shelf costs $6. The active ingredient is identical. The concentration is not. Nobody put that difference on the label. Number 13. Now, the brown bottle. In 1829, French physician Jean-Guillaume Auguste Lugol combined iodine and potassium iodide in distilled water. He called it Lugol solution. For the next 120 years, it was a standard compound in Western medical practice. Physicians used it for thyroid conditions, bacterial infections, iodine deficiency, and water purification in the field. Every family doctor in America carried it. It appeared in physician reference texts through the 1940s. In 1997, the DEA and FDA used the Comprehensive Methamphetamine Control Act to restrict the purchase of iodine compounds. Stated justification: iodine can theoretically be used in methamphetamine synthesis. What followed was a broad regulatory restriction that swept up Lugol's solution, a compound safely used in medicine for 170 years. Today, purchasing concentrated Lugol solution above certain thresholds requires government identification and entry into a federal purchasing database. But someone made sure you would never find out what that restriction buried. The Japanese population consumes, on average, 90 times more dietary iodine than Americans. Rates of thyroid dysfunction, fibrocystic breast disease, and specific hormone-dependent cancers are dramatically lower in Japan than in the United States. Dr. Guy Abraham, former professor of obstetrics and gynecology at UCLA, published peer-reviewed research connecting iodine sufficiency to these outcomes. His work is indexed in medical journals. It has not been retracted. Lugol's solution is $15 at any farm supply store, sold for water purification. The concentration available commercially is below the restricted threshold. Still the same compound, still the same molecule, carried by every family physician in America for over a century, until a drug war gave regulators the cover to make it disappear. 13 compounds, documented, priced, available today. Not one is illegal, not one is a secret. Every single one has peer-reviewed research behind it. A named researcher, a named institution, and a documented financial reason why the system chose to look the other way. This is not medicine failing. This is medicine working exactly as designed for the people who designed it. You now know what $300 billion depends on you not knowing. The combined annual revenue of the pharmaceutical categories displaced by these 13 compounds exceeds $300 billion. The compounds on this list cost less than $200 combined. This information is free. Share it with someone who is still paying $40 copays to hear the words, "There's nothing else we can do." Every like, every share, every comment preserves what they tried to erase. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.